But Gerrard! Oh, you beauty! What a head, son! What a head!
Welcome back to Onto the Ball. I'm Scott, your host, and I'm joined, as always, by resident Man United co-host Travis Morgan. And it must be a special night because Neil Fabrizio Romano Riley has joined us. And breathe, Trav. Copenhagen 4, Man United 3. What are these football games doing to me? Obviously, I'm in charge of the thumbnails. I'm in charge of the description. There's another one of them games where I'm changing the thumbnail from 2-2 to 3-2 to 3-3 to 4-3. I barely watched any of the second half because I was too busy on my phone changing the thumbnail, changing the description. And breathe.
Pick the bones out of that one.
Pick the bones out of that one, indeed. Neil, I don't even know what the Arsenal score was.
2-0, standard.
2-0.
Yeah, top of the group, 2-0,
Nightmare.
coasting at home. I did have one eye on the United game all the way through. I had that on my phone with the Arsenal game on the TV, so I can unpick both for you.
Nice. I had 3-0 Arsenal on Super 6. So I was hoping for a third goal. But listen, that's the least of my worries. That's the least of Trav's worries. What we need to deep dive into is Manchester United, our bottom of the Champions League group stage. Where is it? Wasn't such a technophobe. It'd be right there. There it is. Standings. Where are you? Travis, how does that look? I don't want to be too harsh on you, but in the summer, having the bants, as some might call it, I said, what a waste of a Champions League place. Man United pipping Liverpool to top 4 and getting Champions League. And as it's turning out, you're having a run pretty much on par with Celtic or Rangers. Is it a waste of a Champions League place?
I think if you turn it upside down, it looks pretty good, doesn't it? If I turn my laptop the wrong way around, mate, it looks decent. But yeah, it's shocking. 1 win out of 4. Today, I don't really know where to start because we were in control of the game. We started very well in the game. And then after the sending off, I still don't think it's enough of an excuse to blow up sort of like we did and concede the goals that we did. They were pretty poor goals. But yeah, it's just not good enough. I can't put this individual game on the manager. I literally can't. I don't think it was really down to him. I think maybe two of his substitutions were a little bit questionable. But in terms of the campaign itself, it pretty much sums up how the season's been for United. Just like 1 step forward, 5 steps back. And I don't even give myself the false hope anymore. Like after a couple of wins, you just know these results around the corner. It's very typical of a Ten Hag side. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me in the slightest. Today's a poor result. And I think that leaves us out. We can't go through now. Got Bayern Munich and Galatasaray away. So out of those 2 games, I can't really see us picking up a point out of them, to be honest.
Even at 2-2, as a Liverpool fan, I still thought it's not game over. There's still going to be some twists and turns in this year. Is that indicative of Man United's season so far under Ten Hag?
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely. I think Ten Hag, for me, I've thought this for quite a while now. He's not the guy to lead United forward. I'm very concrete on that. I'm firm on that. I'm not going to change my mind after a 1-0 94th minute Bruno winner away at the Cottage. Like that's not going to change my narrative or my thought on that. So as long as he's in post, you'll always get these types of results, these calamitous collapses, win 1, lose 1, draw 1, and it's going to be like that until he leaves the club. Like I said, I don't want to blast him too much for this particular game because we were in control at 2-0. We were actually playing pretty decent. The goals we scored were very good. So I had no complaints, but I'm sure we'll come on to the incidents. The Rashford red card for me is not a red card. I think it totally changes everything. We dropped very deep in the game. I thought we gave them a little bit too much respect. I'm not sure about what Amrabat's sort of doing in the second half. I really don't know why he even came on. I don't think he had any sort of defensive impact on the game. He didn't solidify us in any way, shape or form. But yeah, I think Ten Hag he'll be ruined that. He'll be extremely disappointed not to come away, especially going 3-2 up with 20 minutes left. He probably thought at least a draw, but to come away with no points, it is very damaging for his sort of tenure, and I think we're just around the corner probably from him going, especially if we don't get in the Europa League as well, and he doesn't get an opportunity to try and salvage a Champions League place, because I can't see us getting in the top 4 in the league. So yeah, I think it's going to be very damaging for him.
Well, it's top 5 in the league now, isn't it? Everyone keeps reminding me every time I say top 4. It's top 5 this season. Is that as long as you've got like a high European coefficient or something, which Man United would have anyway, wouldn't they, if they finished fifth?
I don't think we'll anyway.
Neil, I don't know how much of the Man United game you watched, but on what planet does a first choice 35-year-old Johnny Evans get injured and bring on 4th choice Rafael Varane as his replacement? I mean, are we living in like a Twilight universe, Trav? What on earth is going on? Why is Varane not starting? That's what I want to know. Neil, you tell me from an Arsenal point of view.
I think the problem is you can tell Haag's under pressure. I mean, it's as simple as that. And it's almost like he's trying to do something a little bit different, or he's trying to do he's becoming a bit the Tinker Man, the Ranieri, and I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm rattling cages. I've dropped this young kid Sancho and not give him a chance and hold him over the coals in the media. Look at me, he's trying to make waves and almost create a bit of a story that it's not him that's the problem, and it's falling back on what Ranieri said last year, where it was open heart surgery, and it just feels a little bit like he's almost a bit in panic mode of, I need to be seeming to be doing something, you know, a bit of a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. I think he's for the short and curlies, as it were, at some point in the season. I don't think he's going to see out the season. I'd be very surprised if we're still sitting in here come May and he's still the manager.
Come May, come November, bro. We still got a couple of weeks left about come May. It'll be by my birthday, mate. I'm telling you, a couple of weeks he'll be out of the door, mate.
But I think the pressure's mounting. I'm just surprised a bit the media aren't really jumping on him that much. Being United, you know, the big clubs, United, Liverpool, Chelsea, City, Arsenal, usually there's a real furore and a bit of a groundswell that the managers go in. There's not really been that with Haag. I don't know if it's everything that's gone before, but he's definitely not. If anything,
it's the opposite, Neil. Like Trav, you know better than me, but it feels like Mark Goldbridge has done a bit of a 180, and he's like backing Ten Hag to the hilt. But more importantly, as Neil just said, to allude on his point of trying to, he's probably picking players he feels like he can trust at the minute. Maybe he's lost some of the squad. But I thought that was indicative of the second goal. Did you see how mad Maguire was going with Højlund? They were like butting foreheads, and it was almost a show like, you know, we're in this together, and I rate you, Maguire, and I rate you, Rasmus, and, you know, we're all fighting for each other. I thought it was a bit of overzealous celebrating that was more about showing the world that Harry Maguire is very well thought of in the squad and we're big buddies. And that might go back to Ten Hag feeling that way as well. I tell you what, I can trust Maguire, I can trust Evans. I don't care if Rafa Varane has won 19 European Cups and he's a big name and he costs big money. I'm sticking to my players that I can trust now that I'm in the trenches, so to speak.
Yeah, but I think it's exactly what Neil said. Because he's under pressure, he's deflecting. So in his eyes, if he doesn't pick the best players, then it's not on him. Do you know what I mean? And that's the way he's seeing it. If he picks 35-year-old Johnny Evans and it goes wrong, then it doesn't matter because he's picked a 35-year-old. He'll say he tried to sell Maguire in the summer. He didn't get a replacement for Maguire. So I'm being forced to play this guy. Varane's out of form and always injured. And he's sort of using excuses really to dig himself out of a hole. But it's backfiring because we're not winning the games. So that's the thing. Like, it's looking more and more stupid. Every one of these decisions that he makes that doesn't come off, he's just digging himself in a deeper hole. And that these things are now starting to get highlighted. Like, you look at the Jadon Sancho situation. Like, when that first broke, I just thought that was just like a minor calm. Like, oh, yeah, he's not performing well in training. So your natural reaction is Sancho just sharpens up. He has Ten Hag has a word with him and it's just cool. It gets sorted over a week's training. But for him to still not be involved to this day is pretty shocking management. As a football club, not necessarily just Ten Hag, but as a football club, to not be able to get a young player playing again for that duration of time is just, for me, something's not right there. You've got that situation. And then I just want to highlight the amount of signings that he's made that he's not actually starting. Like Amrabat was on the bench today. Reguilon was on the bench today. He was a backup left back due to Malacia being injured. You've got Mason Mount at 60 million, was meant to be the main boy in the centre mid. He's not getting a game. He came on as a false nine with about 4 minutes to go. So he's dropping his own signings for guys that he tried to get rid of in the summer. Like, I literally do not understand what he's actually doing. I can't, there's no method to this madness at all.
And that's the thing. He's then coming out and, some of the comments he's making is that, I can't play the way that I'm playing with Ajax that I did with United. We're never going to play that football. I don't have the players. And then you start having a look at, okay, who is in the Ajax team that's now, in the United squad? He's got half the players that he had at Ajax. So
exactly.
You just feel that he's under pressure. The narrative doesn't match. He's trying to say, I don't have this style of play is never going to work. And I feel that sooner or later that's going to run out. The deflection, the excuses, somebody in the media is going to cotton on and say, like you said, GODLBRIDGE everybody's almost giving him an easy ride because they want to talk about the toxic nature of the club. And it's not his fault. It's happened with everyone else. It's the owners. And he's almost getting a bit of an easy ride for it when he's, we did a little straw poll in our WhatsApp group of ranking the managers since Fergie left, and we had Haga sitting second bottom from Ranić in his short stint,
straight up disrespect to Ranić.
I think pound for pound is worse than Ranić. Pound for pound, because I think that's where the United fans are actually feeling.
Well, it is pound for pound because Ranić didn't spend a penny. Hag spent £400 million for pound.
I mean, you know what I'm like, boys. Anyway, I'll do this with managers. I'll gas them up to the hilt. But with this manager, I was very confident that he'd come in and actually at least get us playing half decent football. I didn't say he was necessarily going to win the league, but I thought he would actually come in and sort of bring this Ajax brand to United and at least get the fans off the seats and give us something exciting to watch. He's been totally the opposite to that. I mean, I don't want to attach tonight's performance to that necessarily because obviously there were incidents in the game that affected the result and the way the game panned out. But he's been so disappointing, Ten Hag, in terms of the brand that he's brought to this club. And I just don't see, if the club don't think he's the guy to take us forward, I don't see what we're waiting for. Like, I would literally take 20 million out of next season transfer budget, trying to get the manager that we want now, then give him 20 million in the summer. I just don't understand what we're waiting for. What are we waiting for? We're not going to get in the top 5 because there's
and this is the thing. They talked about it as a well thought out decision, didn't they? Can you remember the kind of Ollie had left and there was this decision that he was the guy we wanted. We put Ranić in there. Everyone knows what happened there because it was well thought out that this was the man. He had the planning behind him. He had 5-6 months lead-in time to get the signings he wanted, to not play the football with the exact same players he had with the club he had before. He's had a bit of a debacle, really. I think for me as well, just his, when I remember when Mikel Arteta came in and Klopp came in, if we look at just those two, they struggled a bit when they first came, both of them. But there was just the way they were in the media and their presence and the way they spoke and the kind of confidence they exuded just from the way they spoke about the game. So even though Klopp struggled, Arteta struggled, initially, you don't get that from Ten Hag. He's almost, I think Scotty had said before, almost felt like he was crying in some interviews, really emotional, and he doesn't.
He can't handle it,
he doesn't seem to demand authority. It's like this. The step up from Ajax has almost seemed a bit too big for him.
Yeah, you've nailed it.
Like when you interview for a job and don't expect to get it, and then you get it, and you think, "Oh, geez, I've got to do the job now."
But it's a good point, like you say, because
I'll just go in for the experience.
Yeah, get the job first, then learn how to do it later. But me and Trav touched on, I think, in the last poddy, the whole point of Ranić, Neil, was because they were getting Hag in the summer. Yeah. So it was this, like you say, it's this well thought out, structured. He's the only man we want. We don't want anyone else. We're going to be patient and wait. We're going to appoint an interim. And it was almost like this cannot go wrong. So now that it is going wrong, a mere less than 18 months later, you can almost see them thinking, what are we going to do now? This wasn't according to the script. However, to go back to Mark GODLBRIDGE, Trav, all he ever keeps saying is, we can't keep sacking managers. You keep doing the same thing. Like, if it's going drastically wrong, you can sack the manager.
I know,
Just because he was the one you wanted and he had a bit of a reputation and you waited, you played the long game and got him. If it's going drastically wrong, you still have to sack him no matter who he is. And even people like Mourinho have been sacked. Ancelotti's been sacked. These big, big names.
Do you know the thing is as well? We wouldn't be sacking him if the football was moving in the right direction. That's the thing. Like, if the football was moving in the right direction and you could see that in a couple of years' time, we would start competing with the bigger teams in the league in terms of how we're playing, he would be fine. But it's totally the opposite. The football is dreadful. We're smashing it, playing this direct long ball stuff and losing at the same time. Like, it's just a recipe for disaster, isn't it?
Yeah, and I've said it time and time again. I'll go back to Arteta and Klopp because they're the recent ones that have come in. They were struggling, but you could see a brand quite quickly. They were playing attractive football, bit of basketball games back and forth. All right, you need a defender, you need a goalkeeper, whatever. But you can play that style of football and get time. You can't play this style of football and get time. No. It's like, actually, you're playing poorly and still not getting the results. Ange Postecoglou got pumped 4-1 yesterday. Somehow he's coming out of the game like he's won the game. People are talking, he's had a go, he's done this, it's the style, it's Ange ball. He's only been in for 10 games and we're talking Ange ball. You know what I mean? It's like nobody's talking Haag ball. Oh, you can see what he's trying to do. And this is 18 months down the line. You know what I mean?
Mate.
That is a good point. I know, obviously, did they flatter to deceive last season then, basically? They bagged the first trophy in, 4 or 5 years. They were comfy top 4. Is that the fact? I mean, you've never played beautiful football.
Nah.
You could see what Klopp wanted straight from the get-go. He didn't have the personnel to carry it out, but you could see where he was going, and you could see it was going to move fast.
Well, yeah, there's 2 key factors last year. Rashford scored 30 goals and De Gea kept the most clean sheets. Like, that literally was it. Like, the football's pretty much the same. And now Rashford stopped scoring and we've changed the keeper. So I'm not necessarily saying Onana's worse than De Gea. He's probably not as good a shot stopper. But Onana was brought in to try and develop the way that we attack and the way we play. And he hasn't been utilised to do that. So, I mean, you saw small elements of it today. But Copenhagen are a poor side. It's not really a good parameter to judge like the way we sort of play. So, yeah, all round Ten Hag is just like there's question marks over his whole philosophy and his structure and the way he's tried to build this United side. And the amount of fractured relationships that he's got with either his own signings or existing players is just beyond embarrassing. I mean, like Casemiro, he's not back until January. You got Martinez injury with the broken foot, which wasn't healed properly. It's just a mess. We've not seen Malacia all season with a thigh injury. To me, that's a little bit weird. I don't know why he's not been seen all year. Then you've had the off-field troubles with Greenwood, Anthony. The list goes on. There's not really anyone that I can look at and say, yeah, you can hold your head high. McTominay's done pretty well in the last 3 to 4 games. I really do think he has sort of stepped up and become a little bit of a leader. He's probably the first name on the team sheet, not even in terms of quality, but his leadership and what you need in terms of how...
Is that not what I said 2 months ago, Trav?
What's that?
McTominay, my boy, Scotty.
Yeah, he has, and I've given you credit for that, and you did used to say that, but he's actually done well. I think that just sort of shows where we're at as a squad, because he's not an amazing player, but he's one that you should have in and around your squad, because he'll chip in
this squad, in this team. Yeah, I said he's exactly what you need.
Yeah. And yeah, we definitely need him now, and he's playing well. But apart from him, there's not anyone else who I can really say, yeah, he's playing well. Really, everyone's been poor. But like I said, if everyone's poor, then it's definitely a system issue. So I don't know where we go from here. The club have got some interesting decisions to make anyway at management level.
Well, let's talk a bit about the game. Let's not just go too fitted in on Haag for 45 minutes. Rasmus Højlund, he will not score an easier brace in his whole life, Travis, in 190 minutes. He could do with a Premier League goal. Everyone's admitted that, but he took his 2 chances well tonight. He's a decent player. He's really good.
He is a good player. And he will score goals. If you create chances for him, he'll score goals. I mean, the second goal, right place, right time, proper striker's instinct. Both goals, really. I mean, the first one's a really good move. We did actually build from the back and we were quite patient with the way we moved the ball forward. It was a good cross from McTominay and it was a tap-in. But his movement's really good. He works hard. I mean, he looks knackered every time he comes off as well. You can't question his work rate and his quality. So, yeah, I like the player a lot. And he's still young. He'll get better, but how much better? I just don't know. I mean, his development under Ten Hag, you just don't know how it's going to be if he stays long term. You'd like a proper good coach with him, and you'd see a better player. But yeah, he's unfortunate to be on the losing side today.
Neil, did you watch enough of the game to see the Rashford red card?
Yeah.
Trav's already said. Sorry to cut you off there. Trav's already said it wasn't a red card. I'm saying it was. You're the man in the middle. What do you reckon?
I think on a European night, it's a red card. You look at the weekend and you see Havertz flying in 2-footed. You see Bruno Guimaraes flying in 2-footed. You see Undogi flying in 2-footed for Spurs. None of them are a red card. And then you see the Rashford one. It's a bit of a striker's challenge, leaving a leg in. I think in Europe, you're getting a red for that. Premier League, you're probably getting away with it. VAR have a debacle and then, send the lino off by mistake.
Trav, you've said it's a red card. Sorry, not a red card. And I wish I had time because obviously I was frantically doing thumbnails every 5 minutes because there was another goal and another goal and another goal. I wish I had time to look back at the Spurs Liverpool because I can't remember if you said Curtis Jones was a red card or not. Can you remember?
I said it was the same tackle as the Casemiro tackle. So if Casemiro's is a red,
I watched that potty. He said it was a red, the Curtis Jones one.
Right. So how can Curtis Jones be a red, Trav, if you're saying Rashford isn't? Because this is the same type of contact.
Curtis
the weight
Jones
on the leg.
play the ball though. Curtis Jones goes to play the ball. Rashford,
yeah. So he was unlucky. It went over the sphere of the ball onto his leg.
Yeah.
If you freeze frame it. Rashford's leg was nowhere near the ball. He literally stamped on the player's leg to completely shield the ball, nowhere near the ball. There was basically Curtis Jones rolled over the ball that could have been at speed, was unlucky. It went over the curvature of the ball.
Why was Casemiro's a red?
Because it was excessive force.
Ah, oh, come on, man.
Yeah. Well, listen. If Casemiro's a red, Curtis Jones is a red. All I'm asking is, how come you don't think Rashford's was a red?
Because Rashford's not gone to play the ball. He's gone to shield the ball, and he didn't see when the guy was putting his leg down.
That's a bad one.
You're not
going
in for a challenge. You're not going in for a challenge.
Yeah. I'm not saying it was dirty, but it was bad, wasn't it?
No, the contact was bad. Yeah, I'm not denying that. But it's like I can't. It's just innocuous. He's not actually gone to tackle. That's the thing. The ball's not there. He's gone to protect the ball. And if you watch it again, they've actually both planted the leg at the same time. It's not like the guy's leg was down and then Rashford's gone into his leg. I can't explain it. So when the defenders putting his foot onto the floor, his ankle's already turned. It's not like Rashford's impact has caused his ankle to turn, and it looks worse in slow-mo as well. Like you didn't even notice it in normal play. That's what I'm trying to say. The Casemiro.
Right, so I think I've got it. Neil, have you got it? He was trying to protect the ball by breaking the guy's leg.
Yeah.
Come on, man. This is silly, mate.
And according to Rule 17.9, that's okay as long as it's Man United.
Casemiro's and Curtis Jones's were both challenges. Do you know what I mean? That went wrong, and they both got sent off. Rashford has gone to shield the ball. He's not even looking at the player. That's the thing. He's not looking at the player. He's gone to protect the ball. He's put his foot down, and the guy's foot happens to land underneath Rashford's foot. And it looks bad. I'm not denying that.
Yeah, it does look bad.
To say it's a straight red, come on.
I know. I hear what you're saying, Trav, because there was a guy in the co-op tonight that just put the stuff in the bag and walked out the shop without paying. He just happened to put it in the bag. So, in that respect, he didn't mean to steal the
You're an
stuff.
idiot, man. Shut up, mate. Shut
He
up.
was trying to protect the goods with a bag.
I'm not just saying that it's United.
Right, but listen. Let's move on, all right? Because it is subjective. It's our favourite word after the Newcastle Arsenal game, isn't it? It's subjective. It could go any way. However, the ref and VAR repaid Man United big time with that penalty. That penalty is never a penalty in a million years. Please,
they
God.
only gave it because they gave the one against Maguire. Like, it's just silly, isn't it? Like that. This is what I mean. VAR is just a shambles, man. And the people running VAR, it's just terrible. The handball rule, I don't know what they're looking for when it comes to handball.
And that wouldn't have been given in the Premier League, because I know we said on the poddy on Monday night that no one knows the rules anymore, thanks to Howard Webb. No one knows if it's a handball anymore, do we?
No.
We just don't know what the rules are. You don't know if it led to a goal, if it didn't, where the flight of the ball was going to. No one knows anything anymore. But that one tonight wouldn't have been given in the Premier League.
I thought they was going to give one right at the end as well on the defender for Copenhagen. I thought, what is going on here? Like, surely not another penalty. But yeah, I think the red card, without a doubt, influenced the game. Like, I'm not saying we got battered with 10 men, but we just made life a little bit difficult for ourselves as well. And I think
from that position, Trav, do you think with 10 men, so when the sending off happens, in the position you were in the game,
it was 2-0, weren't it? Yeah.
Yeah. You still wouldn't expect to lose the game.
No,
definitely. But I think it was a bit of a,
because we should have too much quality for them. Like, I can't explain how bad a team Copenhagen actually are. Like, I think if us three got a few of our boys and got fit, we could give them a good game. I'm not even joking. They are a poor team, you know. They are a poor team. And yeah, even with 10 men, we still should have had enough quality to at least get a draw. So yeah, it's such a bad result. And the rumours that I've been hearing is that Ten Hag needed to get through this Champions League group to keep his job. I don't know how true that is, but there's no way we can go through now.
I wouldn't say there's no way.
Nah,
not really.
Galatasaray and win. We haven't got the character. We haven't got the character to do that. We haven't. We literally.
Yeah, but you're lucky that Bayern are just slapping everyone. So obviously that makes it a different kind of group, then, doesn't it?
I know, but all Galatasaray have to do is not lose to us and then beat Copenhagen on the last day. That's literally all they have to do, because Bayern will slap us at Old Trafford. We all know that. Bayern will absolutely toast us. We're on 3 points. So the maximum we can get is 6. And you've got 2 teams on 4. Do you know what I mean? Copenhagen only need maybe a win against Galatasaray. If any one of those teams wins, we're out.
Is Bayern Munich at home, Trav?
At Old Trafford, yeah, but we ain't beating them at home. I think that suits Bayern even more than being on their own patch. No pressure, coming to OT.
Yeah, but
remember, they've already qualified. Were you about to say that, Neil? I bet you were.
Yeah.
They're already qualified. They could have the second string out.
That don't matter. Come on, we just lost to Copenhagen. Oh, what are they going to do? Put Musiala on the bench and play Kingsley Coman? Yeah, that's weak. Nah, we ain't beating this.
Well, you lost to Newcastle's third string in the League Cup, didn't you?
Exactly, mate. This is what I'm saying, bro. Yeah, we're out. That's done. I just hope we finish bottom now. That's exactly what I'm hoping for. I can't be doing with another Europa League.
Oh, I would love that if you ended up in the Europa League with Liverpool, though.
And then lost.
Imagine that after the banter for the last 6 months about us being Thursday night ball, and then you end up in there by December.
And I'm the only one tuning in Tuesday, Wednesday nights.
I hope we finish bottom, man. I can't be doing with Europa League ball. I really can't, man. I've had enough of it over the last 10, man.
I want to see you playing FC Karabag on a Thursday night in the round of 472.
Trav, I feel like I need to say something about Harry Maguire. I don't know if he's growing on me a bit, but he's doing all right. Is that fair?
No, he's doing okay. He's not
trying to find the words to describe it. He's not your biggest problem.
Nah. I think, like you said,
has he got a future, do you think?
Nah.
I think what Scott said there is part of the problem of Haag. Maguire isn't your biggest problem, and he made him your biggest problem in the media. To me, and just going back to Ten Hag, he's kind of tried to do that thing that managers do. They come in and I chop the big gun. Like, I get rid of your Aubameyang, I get your John Terry out the door, whatever. And he's just made a debacle of it. He's come in and he's basically upset the whole dressing room, the whole camp.
Yeah.
He hasn't read the dressing room properly. He's started trying to get Maguire out the door. He's not gone. It's created a circus. It's, you know, there were other players that he could have made an example of and shipped out to sort of puff his chest out and say, I'm the man here. But yeah, Maguire definitely is nowhere near your biggest problem. If anything, at the moment, he's a bit of your steady Eddie asset.
That's what I mean. Not to go off on a tangent, but I've put him in my FPL team Trav against Luton on Saturday. Yeah. He's just so cheap, obviously, because he's absolute dog food. But yeah, I mean, like you say, it went 2-0. Again, I'm not protecting Ten Hag. I think he's an absolute dead cat. But it went 2-2 before he could even think. Down to 10 men, and before he could blink, it went 2-2. He must have been thinking, let me get to half time. Obviously, 13 minutes injury time didn't help. Did someone pass out in the crowd again? I mean, that never happened before the Pfizer vaccine, did it? Not to go off on another tangent. But yeah, he could have done with half time coming in to regroup and set out a bit of a plan. But after that, Man United coped quite well in the second half. I'd probably say they were the better team. And then it all went wrong big time.
I knew what was coming. As soon as that red card happened, I knew what was coming. I knew exactly what was coming. I didn't think it was going to quite unfold how it did, but I just knew it was going to.
Do you think he got his tactics wrong as soon as it went, okay, Rashford's gone off, right, let's change it up? Do you think that comes from the manager? Do you think he didn't actually think, right, we're away from home, we're still 2-0 up, yes, we lost the player, you know, let's just dig in here and, you know, all hands to the pump? Do you think he just wasn't reactive enough?
In a way, because I think he probably thought it was a little bit too easy. That's the impression I got. I'm not even joking. I was sort of half watching it at 2-0 because I just thought the game was over before the red card. Then the red card happened and I thought, oh no, something's going to go horribly wrong. But it was easy, and I think he probably thought, oh, I don't really need to change it that much. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think he just probably thought, I can just go 2 banks, Højlund up front on his own. He didn't really think about the balance in the wide areas, the midfield and stuff. And I think he just thought United probably had enough to get to half time and then he'd make his changes. And then before we knew it, bang, bang, 2 each. The whole game plan's out the window. Do you know what I mean? With 10 men. And then he's having to think, I've got to actually win this game. Like at 2-2, it was dangerous for him because a draw wasn't enough tonight. I mean, we've ended up losing the game, but a draw, let's not get it twisted, a draw would not have been enough tonight. It's a damaging result for his.
To be fair, it would have been better than a loss, though. If you could have got out of there and gone, do you know what? 2-2, Copenhagen are then sitting on, 1 point would they be on? United on 3, you know, the other team in the group on 2.
That was the banker, Neil. That, in the position we were in the group, with those first 2 losses after the first 2 games, those were the 2 games we categorically were must-wins to put us in a strong position going into the last 2 games.
I get that. And I get you want to win the games and, okay, you're 2-0 up, etc. But, you know, sometimes it's a bit horses for courses. You lose a player and you go, do you know what? Before the game, we wouldn't have taken a draw. But now, actually, just to stop one of the... Because really, it's Bayern Munich and then the rest here, isn't it? So you're thinking, right, we don't lose. We're all pretty much on parity of points. And we hope to beat Galatasaray and Bayern go on a hammering streak of the other teams. Except for United, obviously. So I think a draw tonight, from what happened, wouldn't have been a bad result. And that's where I just think...
Well, looking at the league table, it would have been a perfect result.
Yeah, like Haag, I just think kind of lost it, like you said, and thought, right, I'm under so... And again, I think his decisions are maybe coming under because he's under so much pressure. How's this going to look like in the media with 2-0 up? Now it's 2, you know, we've got out of there with a draw. But that would have been a great result because you're stopping your rivals around you and then it's just a battle for that second place.
And I know what the narrative's going to be like on Twitter. It's like, oh, these same players, this and that. And it's like, well, first of all, he's benching all his own signings. So, like, it's going to be the same players. And the second thing is, like you said, he could have changed it tactically at 2-0 up with 10 men. and just made ourselves a little bit more difficult to beat. But I know there was some sloppy defending on the goals. Don't get me started on like the individuals. I think Varane and Maguire made a mess for the last goal. Dalot for the equaliser, 3 each, was poor on the far post. Yes, individual errors, but generally as a team, I'm spanning over the course of the season, it's been nowhere near good enough as a progression from season 1. Do you know what I mean? The results were good in the first season, but yeah. Where we're at now,
I don't think you're technically good enough to get out of the group. I don't think you deserve to be in the knockout stages, etc.
No, I don't think we do.
But I think if he could have squeaked out of the group, got into the knockout stages, you never know. You might get a real lucky tie and then get into the quarters, for example. All of a sudden, the narrative's different. You know how people spin it. Oh, well, he got to the quarters. He got so far in a cup and he's pushing for top 4. It's a different story. As soon as you,
but not just that, the feeling in the club as well, isn't it, Neil? Like the fan base would have been buzzing if they somehow fluked an easy second round, like you say, getting into the quarters. All of a sudden, the league form picks up and it can turn around fast for Ten Hag. But alas, it doesn't look like that's happening.
Yeah, let's get back to earth, boys. We're finishing bottom. We're finishing bottom of the group. It's simple. We're gonna get wigged by Bayern and probably draw in Galatasaray.
Is that what it is? Bayern next?
I don't know. I would imagine.
Would you play them first? If you play them first, they're 5th.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're out then.
Yeah, so we'll lose next.
You needed Bayern to be... Well, I mean, no, in fact, they're through now, aren't they? So they could rest for game week 5 and 6. And it's at OT. So imagine you get out of that of a draw or even a win. Honestly,
it's Scott trying to gas me. Like, I've watched this team all season. We ain't getting nothing out of that game. I'm not even joking. Like,
on paper you're not good enough, but things can happen. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't know how much of a second string Bayern would play, and especially at OT. Don't rule out being at OT on a European night. Bayern will still set up thinking you're the Man United of the olden days. I mean, maybe I'm just trying to give you a little shreds of...
I don't need it, bro. I don't need it. Harry Kane loves playing at OT, mate.
Ten Hag might go on a sabbatical to Munchen for a couple of weeks. You know,
Harry Kane's gonna stat pad the life out of the game, mate. He'll get a hattie, no problem, mate. No.
But
problem.
I mean, you can't rule out him getting sacked, even if you do somehow fluke it into the next round. I mean, remember Frank Lampard got sacked the year they won the European Cup, didn't he? Didn't Tommy Tuchel come straight in and win the European Cup? So it's not out of the question that just somehow fluking the Champions League group stage to get into the knockout rounds would save you, because let's face it, this is absolute dog food, isn't it, Trav? This is... it's like Groundhog Day. I keep saying to you, this is the worst it's been surely since Fergie in 11 years. This has to be the worst.
This
worse than Ollie.
Bottom of the barrel, mate.
Travis, Scott, a question for both of you. If he goes, obviously not in the immediate, but who comes in?
I don't know.
Who's out there?
Who
wants the job? I think that's the problem now. It's not so much, like you say,
Trav, try to not try to take off what you know will happen. Okay, so I know it's like the ownership, no director of football. Just take all that away. Who is available to come in? It's got to be Zerbi. It has to be.
I'd like Zerbi. Yeah, I would like Zerbi. Yeah, but it's whether we can prize him away. That's the thing, because I know a lot of big clubs want him as well. Real Madrid are sniffing around, and when Pep goes and that, he is an elite coach. Like, he is one that's going to be very sought after.
And I know he's been pretty good, but do you think he deserves it?
That was not bad. It's not bad, you know. Not bad.
Now, to be fair, if he came in, he could brighten up the United team.
Oh, I don't know. Travis, what's next? Luton. I've already said it. I've got Harry Maguire in my FPO team. Luton at home. Surely that is going to be the adrenaline shot that this Man United team, the fan base, the squad need. Or you're not banking on it?
We'll reconvene 5:30 Saturday. We'll talk through the mess. Nah, I can't even say that's a banker, because Copenhagen hadn't won in the Champions League against an English team since like flipping the Roman times or something. I don't know when the stat was, but you just knew tonight was going to be the one. So yeah, Luton. Who knows, mate? Who knows?
Anything could happen.
Anything.
Travis's favourite time of year is coming up anyway, international break. United can't get beat for 2 weeks.
There's one more game to go until that. I think my last point I want to make on Ten Hag, Travis, if he could have his time again, what do you think he'd have done different?
Stayed at Ajax. Stayed at Ajax. Carried on winning the Eredivisie, mate. Oh, no. It's different. I think, no, genuinely, if he could have his time again at United, I think he would have had, well, he's got, this is the thing, it's tough because I think he's had a massive say on everything, like the recruitment. I don't know in terms of like the methods and sports science and stuff. I never know what sort of control a manager has over that sort of thing. But in terms of recruitment and transfers, he's more or less had 90% of everything that he's asked for.
That's what I was going to say. Do you think there's not an element that he's been let down by Man United somewhere, somehow?
Not really.
I think he feels it's firmly on his shoulders. He's made a pig's ear.
Yeah, like the tours and stuff. If you think about the tour, I know he wasn't happy with the travel and where the tours were. But when you're at a big club like United, you're going to tour in them countries. But it's a massive commercial operation going on tour in pre-season. That's just part of it. Nature of the beast. Do you know what I mean? You've got to be able to handle that pressure. I think what's killed him is there's just the step up of the demand of trying to deliver a tactical plan and playing every 3 days. He probably thinks, geez, I'm not getting much time on the training ground, trying to keep a load of big stars happy. Do you know what I mean? Sancho, 80 million quid. That's a drop in the ocean for United. Why am I not playing games? Do you know what I mean? He's probably never had man knocking on his door all the time. Like, when am I going to get a minute? When am I going to get a sniff? Do you know what I mean? At Ajax, it's just a totally different ball game for him. So I just think the step up's just been too big for him. He can't deal with it. And I don't know, maybe in hindsight, is there a job in between Ajax and United that may have suited him better? But Spurs actually said that they didn't want him based on his character, and they thought he was plain and boring in his interview, and that's which is an interesting take from their point of view, and you can sort of see why. And that alludes to what Neil says about his charisma and how he comes across in interviews and stuff. It does strike you as that. So how is he inspiring a group of players? That remains to be seen. So yeah, I think it's going to be a very, very difficult one. I don't think he's got long left at United. I'm sorry to say.
Do you think you've got the structure at the minute to be sacking him? Because obviously everything's up in the air with Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Gary Neville's on Sky Sports crying, saying that Jim Ratcliffe wants to rip out the football side of the operation, and everyone's fearful for the job. There's no sporting director. Is there someone actually there to make this kind of decision and start the search for a new manager?
You got to do what you got to do. Like someone's got to be tasked with doing that job. So that will be John Murtough and Richard Arnold until somebody says otherwise. You know what I mean? Jim Ratcliffe hasn't taken over yet. They're still the boys in charge. They're the ones that make the managerial appointments along with the ownership. So it's as you were. Do you know what I mean? In football, time don't stand still. It doesn't matter like what structure you've got or whether it's competent or whether it's fully complete. If this manager ain't cutting the mustard and he's not going to work long term, you sack him and you get somebody else. Chelsea's a great example of that. They had 3 managers in a year and they will just keep going until they get the man that they're satisfied with. We shouldn't be any different. Big club that spends big money every year, that wants to compete at the highest level. That we shouldn't be keeping people out of sentiment. If he's not good enough, he's not good enough. And that's it.
Speaking of Chelsea, Dan from Two Blues has joined. Cheers, Dan. He says, Trav, when are we going to run this What's Gone Wrong? Did Dan ever contact you, Trav?
No, we did it, but it didn't. The recording didn't record right, so we'll probably have to do it again. Yeah, we did it on some different software, not StreamYard, and it didn't go well. So,
nightmare. Yeah, Dan says Graham Potter for the Blues. That just shows how fast your reputation could go downhill, doesn't it, Trav? Obviously, we said Graham Potter will not succeed at Chelsea. Unai Emery had his reputation damaged at Arsenal. He's recovered. Brendan Rodgers had his reputation damaged at Liverpool. He rebuilt it at Celtic, went to Leicester, won the FA Cup. It's like, just if it doesn't work out at a club like this, it doesn't mean Graham Potter is in the bin. It doesn't mean Ten Hag's in the bin. He can go and rebuild elsewhere. But yeah, what was I going to say? At Man United, I forgot what I was going to say. I just had a good point to make and I forgot it.
No.
Tars, it's the first one you've made in 6 months, so we understand that it's difficult for you to retain that, Scotty. All right.
Yeah, I've lost it. I'll probably remember it as soon as I come off. Dan, I was talking about Potter as Ten Hag's. Yeah, we know. Would you take Harry Potter?
Let's move on.
As Neville said, you need Daniel Radcliffe, not Sir Jim Ratcliffe.
Mate. Yeah, I don't want any Potters near United, man.
Yeah, that's it. So Man United are as
Firmly
good as out of the Champions League.
Yeah, they're out. They're out. I'll tell you now. They're out.
Neil, do you want to have a little word about Arsenal? How'd they get on tonight? I didn't see any of it. 2-0.
We're still in the Champions League.
Flying
2-0, top of the group. You know, we were hoping to qualify tonight. We needed the other game to be a draw. PSV scraped a 1-0. We were on fire tonight. Martinelli had the fullback. Geez, he had a torrid night against him. He was tearing him up. Saka on the other side. Trossard through the middle. Great goal. Declan Rice is a Rolls Royce. Saliba is probably, whatever Marcel Desailly says, is probably one of the top 3 centre-backs in the world at the moment. You just can't get past him. It was a really solid, complete performance. And I think we're looking really good in Europe, you know, really slick, really well-oiled, as opposed to the league where we're just not quite clicking in these first 10 games in the league. We're sort of, even games we're winning, we're not winning them so confidently. But I think in the Champions League, we're, I know we don't have the hardest group in the world, but we're looking pretty good.
Declan Rice. I don't know if you watch Monday's poddy, Neil, but he's just, like you just said, a Rolls Royce.
Yeah.
I've said that if anyone likes a gamble, Neil, don't put your money on Arsenal to win the league if you think they're going to win the league. Put it on Declan Rice to win PFA Player of the Year. You'll get bigger odds. And if Arsenal have a successful season and win the league, it'll be largely down to Declan Rice. He's just incredible.
Yeah, I remember sitting watching the Europa Conference League final with a good friend of mine who's a West Ham fan, and I watched Declan Rice and I said, what is this all about, this 100 million? He isn't that great. And he said, trust me, he's a Rolls Royce. When he gets around better players, he's going to just go to another level at Arsenal. And he's kicked on since day one. So I'm happy to be proved wrong that I thought he was a bit leggy, you know, trying to get around the pitch. Was he any different to Granit Xhaka? But he's a monster. You can't get the ball off him. He's in the right place at the right time. I think he's built his career in the right way, you know, playing in some teams that maybe aren't the best, and he's had to be very streetwise defensively and offensively. He passes the ball, he breaks the lines, he does everything. Long may that continue. But Arsenal are looking comfortable in the Champions League. Avoid Man United, Bayern, Real in the knockout stages, and, you know, we could be the dark horses to get to at least the semis and maybe even pinch a final.
You're getting ahead of yourself now.
Bookmark that. Trust me, when I had United in one eye and Arsenal in the other, I was thinking, oh yeah, we look like the real deal.
Just on Declan Rice, it's so important. He looks like he's got the personality and charisma as well to be a top player. Like there's no like arrogance or like bad character about him. You can just tell he's an all-round great guy as well.
Yeah, when I watched all the clips, all the behind the scenes of him joining the club, you know, it was almost, he was very humble as he was walking around the ground, the stadium. He was at the training pitch, the facilities, you know, the way he spoke. He's obviously still quite young. And I think he's obviously had a very good family career around him, agent, a good upbringing with his time at West Ham. He was obviously the captain there. And he was a leader as soon as he got in. Pre-season, he looked the real deal already. It feels like he's been there for 2 or 3 seasons. He's slotted in seamlessly. There's been no of the Kai Havertz, he needs a bit of time. He's just slotted into the team, found his position. He plays in the 8, he plays in the 6. He was playing more as an 8 today. Obviously, Odegaard's out injured. Havertz was, again, improved again from where he's been. I think we'll see some good things out of him back end of the season. I don't think he's as bad as everybody's made out. Jorginho was great today. Sitting in behind Rice, I think, helps him that he can just sit there and spray balls about, a little bit like Thiago Alcantara. His ball for Saka was, just watch that. He threaded it through the eye of a needle, played 80 minutes again. and you forget Arsenal are still missing. We still haven't had the combination of Ødegaard, Partey, Rice this season. Jesus is out. Timbers, not even got a game for Arsenal yet. So there's some big injuries that Arsenal are holding that nobody's really talking about. If you pulled them out of the spine of most teams, they'd be struggling. The jury's out on David Raya for me still, personally. I don't see him as a huge upgrade on Ramsdale. I get the point. Ramsdale might not have been the ultimate one to move Arsenal forward to the next level. But I've seen nothing from David Raya that makes me feel like, why is Ramsdale not playing? He was brought in for his feet. Couldn't kick a barn door at the moment. He can't find a pass. So I've not seen that in his game. He's awful on crosses, really. His positioning is not great, and he seems like he's feeling the weight of being at a big club. So the jury's still out for me. He may come to be a good keeper, but at the minute he's playing a bit like Loris Karius.
We said that on Monday night's poddy, Neil. You might have agreed. Raya wasn't a big enough upgrade on Ramsdale for Arteta to cause all this, this talking point for everyone. If you're going to go for it, you go for it.
Yeah, if he'd gone away and brought Ter Stegen in, you go, all right, okay, that's an experience, got Champions League experience. Ramsdale hasn't. He's been playing, obviously, in the Championship for quite a while. You'd go fair enough, but, you'd brought the keeper in from Brentford, who, he's almost where Ramsdale was when he took over from Leno. A little bit less experienced than Leno, but had that potential. So, yeah, I agree. He's not a big enough upgrade.
To cause all this drama.
I'm not seeing yet what he's doing that's different. If you just watch the games he's played, look at the amount of passes he's actually strung together, short, medium, long term. His percentage must be really low. He's kind of trying to clip balls like Alisson, Ederson, that style, 40 yards out of his hands or from his feet, and they rarely find the target. Most of them are going out of play, or they're going straight to the opposition, and then we've got a quick turnover. So he's not doing that well. Yes, he's a decent shot stopper, but they all are in the Prem. Manuel Almunia was a decent shot stopper.
So was Loris Karius.
And then again, when a cross comes in, he's hanging on his own corner flag, waiting for the ball. And he's like, oh, where's that one gone? So, yeah.
He'll come good.
Right. Just make sure you join us on an Arsenal poddy soon, Neil. Really enjoy it. It'd be nice me, you, Trav, and Rob Malunga, the Arsenal fan. It'd be really good. Right, lads, it's gone 11 o'clock. We've been on nearly an hour. Neil, cheers for joining. Travis, as always, look forward to the next one. Roll on Luton for Man United. A nice, easy game. Us Liverpool fans know that after Sunday, there's no easy games in the Prem, but let's see what happens then. Nice one. Cheers, lads.
Header. But Gerrard! Oh, you beauty! What a headshot!